Hey guys, what's up? So in this video, I would like to talk about the rectangular and also the disk light, which are types of light that are considered to be area lights. So they produce a similar effect as the one we just simulated that we created using a sequence of line lights. So we can use the rectangular light, for example, to create brightness or clarity coming from outside, but we can also create a lot of different light effects. For example, we can simulate light panels with different colors and sizes. We can also simulate rectangular recessed lights or with different shapes. And we can even simulate TV screens or monitor screens, which are light sources that have a specific size and color. So we can use this kind of light in many different situations, and they are also not so hard to use. And to place, for example, the rectangular light in the scene, we need 4 clicks. So it's actually very similar to the process of placing the spotlight. So I will try to place one here anywhere. I'll click here in our rectangular light. I'll choose now an angle. And as I've just said, we need 4 clicks. And the first one is basically to define a reference point. So I'll click anywhere here. Then we can click to choose where the light actually begins. Then we need 2 more clicks to define the direction. So I'll click here anywhere, and then I will click once again. And now we have our rectangular light working in our scene, and we can already see the effect. And we can change the direction if we use these control points here. We can also change the size by dragging these other points. We can rotate as well. So after placing it, we can change its size, location, and rotation. And as you've probably noticed, it's not so easy to define an exact position for this light. So as we did before, it can be very helpful if we place this light in a specific wall or corner, and this will make all the process much easier. So I will try once again to place this light, but now using a specific reference point. So I will delete this light for now. And I would like to place a rectangular light to simulate the light that is being produced by this rectangular recessed light. And I will use the trick that I've just mentioned by creating this light in another location and then moving and positioning here in the right place. So I will search for a corner, maybe this one here, and I will click here in the rectangular light. I will click in the first point as a reference point. Then I can choose where the light will actually start, a little bit downwards, maybe here. So I'll click once again. And then basically I need to click once more to define the first point of the direction and then the second point to set the final direction. And now we can see that this rectangular light is facing downwards and is actually working fine for this kind of light source. And now I basically need to move it to the right location. So I will use my move tool and I'll try to find a better angle here. Now I guess it's okay. And I'll try to click in a snap point somewhere in the corner, and I can move it to this other corner here. Now I can use my selection tool and double click the light. I can click in these control points and move them until the other side, somewhere here, and now this one here, so we have the correct size. Now I can hit the ESC key to leave the control points mode. And it's important to try not to leave this light too close to the geometry. So we can even move it a little bit downwards in the Z-axis so that it doesn't hit the light fixture itself. Otherwise, it cannot work properly. So I would leave it a little bit away from the face of this light fixture. I think here it's okay. And if we would like to check the effect of this light, we can increase the luminous power. And you can see that it's a very strong light. So it can really make the scene look much brighter. And we can exaggerate to see how it's working. Now I will decrease it a little bit. And of course, we could also set the size of this rectangle by playing around with these values here, but I did with the control points. And one strange thing that you are probably noticing is that the light itself is working and producing the light effect. But when we look at the light fixture, it appears to be off because we don't have the self-illumination effect. But we'll talk about this effect in the next video because we'll have to configure this directly in the material of the light source, not in the light object itself. Okay, and to finish configuring this rectangular light, I will basically increase a little bit its intensity so that it makes our scene brighter. I think somewhere here is quite okay. And as I've said before, we can also use rectangular lights to simulate a kind of area light that comes from the skylight. So instead of using, for example, a group of linear lights as we've used in the previous video, we could also try out this rectangular light. So let's give it a try here, and I will choose a better angle, for example here. And I need to create a big rectangular light and place it behind the window. And to make the creation process easier, I can use once again the trick. So I'll click here in rectangular light. I can maybe use this point as the reference point. Then I can click somewhere here along this line to create the first point, and then I can click once again and then once more to define the direction, and now we have this rectangular light in the right orientation. So now I can basically drag the points so that we can set the right size. I can drag it also upwards here, and it can be a little bit bigger than the window, there's no problem. And now I can basically hit the S key, and with the move tool I will place it behind our window, and we can already see a little bit the effect. But if we increase the intensity, we are getting this very strong area light coming from outside, and this could be another way of creating this kind of effect. But normally I prefer to use the linear lights because they produce a softer effect. We don't have a very sharp shadow as we are having here. But you can feel free to use this method if you like. For now, I'll basically delete this light because I don't want to create this kind of effect. So we are once again with no brightness coming from the window. Okay, so the last light object that I would like to show you in this video is the disk light that behaves in the exact same way as the rectangular light, but it has a different shape. So I can once again open here my Enscape objects window, and I will now click here in disk. And once again, I can try to find a corner, and maybe I can click here once again. So this would be my reference point. Then I can place the light, and then I can click twice to define the direction. And you can see here that we have a disk light, and we can move it to see it better, and it works in the exact same way as the rectangular light. We can double click if we would like to increase the radius, or we could also increase it here in the Enscape window, and we can also increase the intensity in the luminous power option. And as you can notice, it also produces a very strong light effect, and it's actually very similar to the rectangular light. But the light that is being cast is respecting this circular shape, so the effect will be a little bit different. And I will delete this light since I don't want it here. And in our next video, we will continue working with different light sources.